it going, everybody? This is the Stimulus Check Hub here to give you your daily stimulus check and unemployment benefits updates and latest information. If you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. A like and a comment are always appreciated. Also, if you wouldn't mind sharing this with your friends and family, because I'm sure they would also like the most up-to-date information on their stimulus checks and unemployment benefits available anywhere on YouTube, which is what I try to provide here on this channel.
The annual report, which is done for Social Security and Medicare, we're going to hear about what experts have to say on the impact of COVID-19 and the pandemic over the last 2 years on Social Security. We're going to hear some good news, but we're going to hear some troubling news as well. And we're going to walk through it together, so let's get started. Right now, we're going to hear the annual report from the Medicare and Social Security trustees. That every year they come out with a report letting you know what needs to be changed or adjusted or what's happened over the past year when it comes to Social Security. But we're going to hear what they have to say in regards to, like I mentioned before, Social Security's impact, or how Social Security has been impacted over 2020 and 2021.
The annual report from the trustees of the Social Security and Medicare programs is out, and it is the first comprehensive look at just how much the coronavirus pandemic has affected those two pillars of America's social safety net. The report found that pandemic impacts are just beginning to be understood, but the effects could actually be a lot less than many people had feared over the last year. Here to talk about this now is Ssi Ssdi, Director of Economic Policy at the Bipartisan Policy Center, and we're also joined by Yahoo Finance's senior columnist, Rick Newman. Good afternoon, guys. Good to see the both of you. So, Ssi, I guess this report is telling us that those two programs, Social Security and Medicare, were able to weather the storm, but we're not out of the woods yet, are we?
No, we're certainly not, and you're absolutely right that yesterday's reports were welcome news, showing that the impacts of the pandemic on the trust funds were much less than many of us, myself included, had expected last year when we were falling into the recession that came upon us after COVID hit. But I think the main takeaway here is that it's not time to take a victory lap. These programs still have fundamental financing challenges that are in significant need of addressing. You might say that we're on the road to retirement and we just avoided a major car crash, but our car is about to run out of fuel, and that fact hasn't changed.
One of the things that they mentioned is about those that are on Social Security weathering the storm. Do you actually feel like you weathered the storm when it came to Social Security? Because I know many individuals have said that they have less money to use, prices have gone up with everything, so you do not feel like you're weathering the storm. The cost of Medicare will be higher next year. Your cost of living adjustment, which was a 5.9 increase, has been overshadowed by a 6.2 to 6.5 increase in inflation since you got your cost of living adjustment. So do you really feel like you've weathered the storm? And do you feel like you're worse off in 2021 than when you were in 2020?
The Social Security Trust Fund, the primary one, is expected to deplete all of its reserves by 2033, just 12 years from now. The Medicare Hospital Insurance Fund by 2026, so only 5 years from now. That's really concerning. These are major programs that Americans rely upon, and this report should be a stark reminder that policymakers need to address these challenges rather than continuing to kick the can down the road.
Now, in 2022, President Biden and a lot of the Senate already have plans on making an adjustment when it comes to Social Security. So once they get past the infrastructure bill, the only thing that's left for 2022 in a major agenda is Social Security.
Ssi, I was on a conference call for reporters the Treasury held yesterday before putting this information out, and there was discussion about mortality rates, which have gone up and have affected Social Security in a couple of different ways. They think that it's possible that there will be fewer claims on Social Security in the future because of higher mortality rates related to COVID. But then, of course, they underscored this all by saying it's uncertain and we're not sure yet. What did you make of that?
We've seen a lot of effects on both claiming and mortality, both related to COVID and in terms of the trustees' underlying assumptions. They continuously update these assumptions as they go year to year to try to make sure that they have the most current estimates in place. A couple noteworthy changes because of COVID, though, are one, of course, many people have tragically passed away over the past year and a half, and disproportionately people who were either on Social Security benefits, either the retirement benefits or disability benefits, or are expected to be on shortly. So that actually saved the trust funds money because it would not pay out money that would otherwise be paid. Similarly, a lot of people who might otherwise have gone on to disability insurance or who might have claimed retirement benefits, they ended up staying on unemployment insurance because those benefits, of course, have been expanded over the last year and a half. And staying on those was a better proposition for many than claiming retirement or disability benefits. Those effects have actually helped the trust funds, and that's helped to counteract some of the drop in payroll tax revenue that we've seen over the last 18 months.
Now, there are two things that actually has taken place that has impacted Social Security in 2020 and 2021. The first thing is, as he mentioned, there are a lot less people filing, sadly, because a lot of people have passed on during the time period of this pandemic. But the second impact, in which he didn't describe, that will impact Social Security is because 2021 and 2020 had less people working, meaning you had less payroll taxes or Social Security taxes to go into the kitty. That means that the trust will not receive the actual monies that it would normally receive based off, for example, 2018, 2019, and before.
So you do point it out, Ssi. Medicare is this is gonna come due first with that trust funds due to run short of money in 2026, just 5 years from now. Bipartisan Policy Center has listed many different ideas for how to shore up both of these programs. They're not that complicated. You could raise the payroll tax, for example, that funds Medicare. You could do a bunch of other things. But of course, this is politically challenging because no politician wants to be the one to raise taxes. So can you give people who might be worried that Medicare is just not going to be there for them some idea of how Congress might actually address this when it has no other choice?
Yeah, it's a great point, Rick. Both of these programs, Medicare and Social Security, are not going anywhere. They've been around for decades. They will be around for many more decades. The question here is about the financing of the programs and whether we can afford to keep them in exactly the same form that they are today. The short answer is that we can't. We need to either increase revenues into the program, as you mentioned, for example, by increasing payroll taxes, or possibly adjust the benefits of those programs. And on the Medicare side, that can mean in terms of how much we pay providers. It can mean in terms of the premiums that people pay to participate in the program. These are all ways that we can help to shore up the finances of the programs. The problem right now is that members of Congress really aren't taking this on. We need leadership on this issue, and we need the public to call on our members of Congress to take action. That's why we at the Bipartisan Policy Center are helping to lead this Funding Our Future coalition, which is about 60 organizations across a variety of sectors that are calling for action on the really important issue of retirement security. And that's Medicare, that's Social Security, that's all sorts of retirement savings. The fact of the matter is this issue is really getting short shrift in Congress right now, and we need to get it back on the radar.
In the next few years, like he said, in 2026, Medicare will be impacted. So you think that you're paying higher premiums now. Just imagine the cost of Medicare after 2026 if our politicians don't do anything about it now.
Ssi, I know the spike in inflation could actually mean higher Social Security payments for seniors next year. That we're looking at what could be the biggest jump in Social Security benefits in about 4 decades. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Where is that money coming from? And is it a prudent thing to do? Is now the time to actually be increasing how much seniors are getting on Social Security?
The cost of living adjustment is an annual adjustment that beneficiaries receive each year. It's in law, so there's no action that Congress needs to take to put it in place. It happens to make sure that the purchasing power of Social Security benefits does not go down from year to year. You wouldn't want people receiving the same benefit in 2022 as they received in 1980, because the amount that they would be able to provide and their families with and support themselves on would be dramatically different. So that adjustment goes into effect every year. This next year is expected to be perhaps the largest adjustment we've seen in a long time. And that's because in the headlines recently, most people have seen, inflation has been running very hot. As we recover from the pandemic, the demand has really outstripped supply. especially with all the supply chain problems that are going on right now. So we are seeing at least temporarily higher inflation. Whether that inflation will persist and we'll see more of that in the years to come is to be seen. If we do, those cost of living increases will continue to be high to help keep up with the increasing prices that seniors are experiencing.
Now, when it comes to the cost of living adjustment, as I mentioned before and as he just mentioned, even though you're getting one of the highest cost of living increases over the last 40 years, we're also getting something that has increased dramatically over the last 40 years, and that's the rate of inflation.
Ssi, you mentioned a moment ago that stabilizing the finances for Medicare and Social Security not on the radar in Congress. Interesting, what is on the radar in Congress is actually expanding Medicare, possibly lowering the eligibility age from 65 to 60, and then including other benefits such as dental and vision. You're an astute observer of the political scene in Washington. Can you handicap for us whether you think those types of changes might pass Congress this year?
This fall, Democrats are trying to push through a major reconciliation package, and that's Washington shorthand for just a large package of reforms to spending and taxes. As part of that, as you know, Medicare is on the table, and some benefit expansions could be included there. It's yet to be seen what they're going to put into the package. We know it's going to be pretty large. It will likely touch Medicare. We don't know what pieces are there. I would say that policymakers really need to focus on shoring up the program as it stands today. We should be thinking about both in terms of Medicare and Social Security, whether there are specific areas where benefits should be expanded and enhanced, whether it's for particular populations or to cover certain services. But we can't do that at the expense of addressing the underlying programs that we've known about for decades. It's not fair to the seniors and many other beneficiaries who rely on these programs to keep them guessing as to what to expect in retirement. People are trying to plan, people need to know what to expect, and policymakers need to step up to take action on these programs to ensure their sustainability into the future.
Now, I know a lot of that information was information that we already knew as far as the time in which Social Security might expire, all the way until the impact of Medicare over the next couple of years. So this is why, as I mentioned before, Social Security will be a hot button topic in 2022. There are a lot of changes that President Biden wants to make. He's already set to the side over $17 million for the Social Security Administration itself to have some changes. So they're doing this for a reason, and that reason may be to make sure that you get more monies and more programs out to you, especially those of you seniors that are on.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Like and a comment are always appreciated. Also, if you wouldn't mind sharing this with your friends and family, because I'm sure they would also like the most up-to-date information on their stimulus checks and unemployment benefits available anywhere on YouTube. Have a good one.